Hello my friends, David Kessler here and welcome back to the studio. We're going to start with this video on another multi-part painting demonstration where I go through my whole process of doing a painting. Now before I get into explanations and all that sort of stuff, I got a canvas here, gallery wrapped canvas. I've added some thicker gesso on top to get a little bit of background texture. I'm going to do an underpainting real quick so it has time to dry while I'm doing the other talking. So I'm going to mix a Titan Buff with Neutral Gray 6. Both of those are golden colors with a lot of water, and we're going to get to it right now. I'm just randomly mixing these two together. I'm using a lot of water on my brush. I'm using, some spray from my water bottle. What I'm trying to do is just get a kind of a light middle value to a middle value covering on here. It does a couple things for me. Number one, I'll start with a middle value instead of a white canvas. And number two, what it does is it gets me moving from my shoulder to start with. Very first thing, I get to sort of loosen my body up. I'll put this on here. Awesome. Now, when that's done, it's going to have a little bit of time to dry before I get started on the painting itself. Now, let me explain a little bit about materials. Like I said, I got some thick gesso on top of this canvas. Obviously, your canvases come pre-gessoed, but I use the extra gesso on top, thick and creamy and rich, to give a little extra texture. Okay? Now, the brushes that I'm using, everybody always asks, what are the brushes that I use? And I've got, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 videos that describe exactly the brushes that I use. I use two kinds, basically the two kinds that are available, right? Natural bristle brush, which I like the most and use the most. And for more detailed work, I'll use nylon brushes, right? Man-made versus natural materials. Each one has their own quirks, the things that they're good at and the things that they're not so good at. The paint that I'm going to be using is golden heavy body acrylic paint. Right, I use it in the jars. Right, golden heavy body acrylic paint. The only kind of paint that I use. Right, the best stuff available for any kind of painting. Okay. Now, I do these videos for many reasons. These painting videos. Number one, to give you an inside look into the type of painting process that I use when I develop a painting. That's really the most important part of these videos, is that I have a process that I use to develop paintings. It's different from what a lot of other people do, and that's the reason I want to show it to you. Secondly, as I do these to help you by describing exactly what I do all the way through so that you see the entire process. And the only other time I do this in really completely unfiltered, uncut videos is in my courses like All About Color. And there's a link to All About Color below, and it goes through all the color harmonies that you need to understand to make better paintings. And we look at how did Van Gogh use these systems, how did Cezanne use these systems, how did Monet use these systems. Right, there's the same systems that they used to develop their paintings. Right, and we go over that in All About Color, and we're going to do some of that here. Now, I have this simple color system on a color wheel that I use for this, and it was developed by studying hundreds, if not thousands, of paintings by the old masters to come up with a system that I could implement easily and that my students could implement easily when figuring out how to use color in paintings. And that's really what All About Color, which is a digital online course, is all about. All right? And there's, like I said, there's links to that below. Now what we're going to be doing today, we meaning me, is I'm going to be doing a complementary color painting. Simple, right? And I always tell my students, if you can understand complementary colors, how to use them, how they neutralize each other, how they accent each other, you can do any kind of painting you want to. Complementary colors really are the basis for all art making decisions, or all color making decisions when you're making art, regardless of what medium you use. Okay? All right. So I'm going to be using violet and yellow, right? Opposites across the color wheel. One's cool, the violet's cool, the yellow is warm. I'm going to be using violet as my dominant color, meaning when you look at the painting, it should look like a violet painting, right? Violet is the dominant color. It should probably cover, 80% or so of the surface, if not more than that. The yellow is going to be used as the accent color, right? Accent meaning it's going to form the centers of interest because it's going to be accented against the violet. It's going to really pop against the violet. That's what complementary colors do when they're used, played against each other. All right, so the yellow rather, I'm going to use as my center of interest color. Okay. Now, what I do with complementary color combinations is if I'm doing a violet painting, I'm going to venture into blue violet, a little bit of blue violet, and then a little bit of red violet just for some variety in the composition. Okay. Now with the yellow, I'm probably going to be in some yellow orange and some yellow in various values, of course. Same thing here, various values using white to make the values lighter. All right. And what I do is I write down my intentions for the color combination, and I leave those right next to my canvas when I'm painting, or the paper when I'm painting. And I do that so that when I'm in the heat of battle here on the canvas, that I can remember what it is that my intentions are for the painting. So I wrote down my D for my dominant color is violet, my accent color is going to be yellow. That way I have it right there, I've written it down, I've stated my intentions. It shouldn't be a secret to me when I'm in working on the painting. And, halfway through the painting, I'm not going to change and say, well, yellow is going to be my dominant color and violet's going to be my accent color. No, it doesn't change. These are my intentions. These are what I stick with. This is what I'm going to do. Okay? All right, so hope this is helpful for you. I've got my underpainting done, right? There again, middle value, kind of a light middle to middle value painting, or underpainting, right? I'm going to go over top of that with a violet and yellow composition. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the palette over here. I'm going to lay out the colors, I'm going to do the mixing, and you'll see the whole thing coming up on the next video. Stay tuned.